Welcome to the Barry Podcast, an unofficial show covering the officially awesome HBO series, Barry. I am one of your hosts, Jamie G. Esquire V, MD, Master of Surgical Arts, and a licensed and bonded dealmaker.
Done?
Yeah. Done.
I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills, and we're going to talk about the 26th episode of Barry, Season 4, Episode 2, titled Bestest Place on Earth.
I am Magnum Mills, and while the bestest place on earth sounds great and all, I'm good with just going to my happy place.
Your own happy place.
Thank you for making your happy place the Barry Podcast. Find us wherever you get your pods. Search for Barry Podcast. We're on social media at Barry Podcast. Search for us on YouTube or go to joeblowfootballshow.com. Brings you right to our YouTube channel. If you could take, I don't know, about 6.37 seconds. Takes that long for me to say this. Takes you less time than that. Please just like, comment, rate, follow, subscribe. Just do one. Makes you cool. Trust me, we'll know. You're awesome. We appreciate it. Help people find the show. Please and thank you.
During this episode, I do need to tell you that we're going to be spoiling, all right? We're going to be spoiling Bestest Place on Earth, as well as all previous episodes of Barry. We also could discuss any articles, interviews, podcast appearances, and the like. So consider yourself warned. Mills, it's that time, my dude. Make with the deets. Starting now.
This is Season 4, Episode 2, the 26th overall episode of Barry, titled Bestest Place on Earth. Originally aired Sunday, April 16th, 2023. Directed by Bill Hader, as are all episodes in Season 4. This is the 12th episode of Barry that he has directed. Written by Nikki Hirsch. This is her first written by credit on Barry. She had 2 previous writing credits on the show as a staff writer. The short plot synopsis is Barry gets an unexpected visitor. Hank and Cristobal attempt to restart their operations. Gene tells his story. Sally deals with the aftermath of having dated Barry.
And before we dive into our recap discussion of this episode, let's start out by giving our overall thoughts on Bestest Placest on Earthest. Just kidding. The name of the title here is Bestest Place on Earth. This very much so is kind of like how all seasons of Barry start. A little bit slow, a little bit trying to lay the framework here. And it usually seems by like episode 4, they start to heat up, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 are just absolute heaters. I kind of think they're going in the same direction here. Again, a lot to unpack here, trying to lay down the groundwork for how the season's going to shape out. I think they did a good job. Definitely seems to be a little bit more heavy on the dark side than the humor side, which is something I wish would even out a little bit. Maybe it will as we get on here. But I thought it was a good episode, kind of what I anticipated after episode 1 of just kind of like more of kind of setting things up.
I think you are definitely correct here in that there's still some moving of positioning of the chess pieces and whatnot. I have to say that the jokes weren't, again, as plentiful. I think going into the season, I said I'd hope that maybe it would go back to being more of a balance between 50% dark and drama and 50% comedy. It's still not quite there, but we do get some good stuff here. And the writing is just top notch. The whole, everything associated with Dave and Buster's just works extremely well for me. The kind of irony of Fuchs and Barry trying to protect each other and then screwing up and flipping, and just the miscommunication. That's a common thing in shows, especially in storytelling, where it's the misconnection. If somebody had just told somebody this one thing, none of this would ever happen. So it does add a little bit of kind of maybe dramatic irony to everything overall. I like getting Sally back in the mix pretty quick. I'm curious to see where the Lon O'Neill storyline goes here. I'm definitely intrigued kind of what Gene's overall motivations are. So it definitely some good stuff here. I'm intrigued. I think I liked it a little bit more than the first episode.
All right, Mills. Well, I'm tossing you the keys, so it's your job to get us to the bestest place on Earth.
That's Wally World, right? Do we have the station wagon here? Do we have the Griswold family station wagon? That would help.
That would help.
We don't have that, so I guess we got to go to jail. We open in jail, where a beat-up Barry is imagining himself as a child. Young Barry plays on the jail bed before running out to meet his dad and his dad's best friend, Monroe Fuchs. Barry is shy, but Fuchs turns on the charm, telling young Barry that he hopes that they can play Army together sometime. Is this the definitive first time that Barry Berkman met Monroe Fuchs?
I think it was. I think that's what they were showing us here, which could be some cool foreshadowing as this episode unfolds in others. But I also think that, again, just really good job here with some of the flashbacks and the daydreams. They flashed it a little bit last episode as Barry's kind of like seeing Sally the same way he saw her the first time he met her. Here we've got kind of this blended reality of jail, but also like his memory. So I thought it was pretty cool.
I like that blended reality because where the scene takes place with young Barry and his dad and Fuchs, that's not really where it happened, right? He's imagining them, but it's somewhere else. Can you tell where they are? It looks like a desert, but it looks like you can also see dead or dormant grass. Or we saw some Barry have some dreams in season 2, like during Ronnie Lily, and it feels like it was the same kind of looking area. That might have been a little bit more desert-like, but I think it was kind of the same concept. So I'm just curious if they're kind of bringing that back around at all.
Yeah. Well, it definitely didn't look like Cleveland. So
Have you been to Cleveland recently? Seriously, though, you do get one reference here with Fuchs, and Barry talking about playing Army someday, right?
yeah.
They do, in fact, play Army someday. So there's a little bit of foreshadowing. After another title card without music, Fuchs is meeting with the FBI guys again. This time, Fuchs tells him that the deal is off, and he doesn't want to say anything without his new attorney, Gail Winograde, present. Fuchs tells them, shame on you, accuses them of making dick moves, and he departs.
Shame on you. Turning pals into enemies. It's a dick move.
Again, not much here, but I love these FBI guys. They're right up there with the LAPD tech guys from season 1. I love them. Dude's still keeping up with the Joe Friday thing. And just having that old school speech pattern with weird stuff.
But that wasn't us. You guys were already in a friend fight.
Fuchs, I mean, I guess he was for real at the end of last episode, right? I didn't think he was faking that, but it's definitely confirmed here that Fuchs is officially back on Team Barry for now.
Yeah, for sure. And you got to credit Fuchs, man. When he makes a move, for better or worse, he makes it. And he did it here. I thought that was really good. And just, I don't know, man, how intrigued are you by Gail Winograde? Like, that sounds like a great name for an attorney. I'm very excited about it.
Well, when I first heard it, my initial instinct is I start thinking of, Henry Winkler on Arrested Development. And then I go to Gene Parmesan. And just in my head, I'm like, this is not a real name. But then you see the way the FBI guys react, and they're reacting like it's a real name. And I'm just like, realistically, it's probably pronounced Winograde, but I'm calling him Winograde.
Yes.
I don't care what they say on he's wine. He's always a wino to me. I feel
Absolutely.
that's the joke.
Well, and I love wine.
Fuchs then goes kind of back to the main room of the prison here, where the prisoners are watching themselves some Yellowstone, and Fuchs gives a speech. He introduces himself as the Raven. He names Barry Berkman, badass cop killer, as his associate. He tries to recruit members for his new gang, but it's unclear how successful he is. Afterwards, Barry congratulates Fuchs on his speech and says that he liked the names. I think he was lying, but he said that he liked them. Fuchs says it'll take the lawyer a while to spring them, and there's safety in numbers. Barry assures him that he'll get the other guys in line. Fuchs apologizes to Barry about wearing a wire and mentions some of the details of the deal he could have taken. Fuchs tells Barry that they've got a meeting with Winograde at 3 p.m. Fuchs is heard. He's a beast.
God, you're a beast.
So a lot to break down here with this speech. Pretty great that Fuchs is embracing the persona of the Raven, right?
Yes. I'm so happy they brought that back. I thought that was very cool. I love the Raven. So own that, dude. Own it.
Yeah, I'm on team lean into the Raven here. 100%. And dude, how about the names here? What do we got? Livewire, Jason, and Groove Tube. I swear to God, those are names you would have seen on a Saturday morning cartoon back in the 80s. Actually, I'm pretty sure Livewire is a Superman villain or a Supergirl villain or something. And Groove Tube, actually, I take it back. Groove Tube is a Scooby-Doo villain.
Incredible.
And I like he calls the one dude, he won't call him Jason. And then the other guy doesn't want a nickname, so then he calls the other guy Jason. Just that whole bit is so great. And Fuchs called someone motherfuck. I've never dropped the ER before. That's an interesting change up. I might use that.
Fuchs is a trendsetter, man.
Yeah, and I really can't believe that they're watching Yellowstone in prison, but good for them. At the docks, Cristobal arrives to see Bong, who's in the shipping racket. Cristobal wants to bring him in his shipping capacity in on the sand shortage plan. He invites him to a meeting where the Guatemalans will also be in attendance. Bong is at war with them, so sitting at a table across from them will never happen. Cristobal thinks that he can make it happen.
I think I can. If that table happens to be at the bestest place on the earth.
All right, they're fucking with us, right? We got Wino Grade and now we got Bong.
They definitely
Writers
are.
are just fucking with us, right? There's no, that cannot be accidental. I know Bong is actually, I think, a traditional feed. It's a name, it is an actual name, but they knew what they were doing.
I gotta believe that they did, and I'm glad that they did. And I gotta ask you, where did your mind wander when they said the bestest? Like, where did you think they were going?
Buffalo Wild Wings. Because they had done that in all the sauces.
You see Marshawn Lynch there?
For some reason, I thought that was going to come back around, but Dave and Buster's, I believe we even mentioned on our preview show. So that was in my brain, and I think on a certain level, I didn't want to go there. And shout out Bong, he is just pretty cool, and he brings up the crime utopia thing.
The crime utopia thing. I remember. Played volleyball.
Shout out the beginning of season 2 there when they had the little utopia at the stash house.
Recreational volleyball is becoming legendary. P.S. I am now known as Bullet for my serve.
In the next scene, we're at the bestest place on earth, Dave and Buster's. Hank and Cristobal have brought Bong and the Guatemalans here for a meeting. Using themselves as an example, they convince them to all work together with no bloodshed. As Cristobal takes them to play some games together, Hank gets a text informing him that breaking Barry out of jail is feasible with some manpower. We talked about it, let's just address it. Was Dave and Buster's the right choice? Was there any better possible choice? Like, would even Disneyland or Disney World, whatever one's in California, would that have been better?
No, man. I think they nailed it here, dude. Come on. I am thinking about, like, you know what? What am I doing on Saturday? Like, maybe I should go like smash a couple beers at Dave and Buster's and hang out, man. Like, I'm literally there. Like, that's what it did for me.
As far as the rest of it goes, are you surprised that Hank is still pushing forward with this possible plan to break Barry out of jail, despite the fact that he has no sign off from Cristobal?
Not really. I think he's just, for whatever reason, he's not going to quit. I kind of sense this coming, man. Like, it didn't necessarily surprise me, man. We've kind of seen this before with Hank.
That's true. And do you think that him and Cristobal are total unicorn situation?
Yes, I do. I really, really, really do.
And I really want to highlight this scene around the table because this is shot in a great way. Basically, you follow Cristobal one way around the table. There's no cutting. They follow one way. And then Cristobal meets with Hank, and then Hank starts going the other way, and you follow. And you actually see Hank run back around, even though he could have just stood there. But that's Hank not quite understanding how physics works. And they just keep doing this. And they must have, from what I can tell, it's all one take. And the camera will just keep going around the table and then move the other way and back and forth. That was all great. I love how they have a private room. We see that a little bit in the next scene or two, but they're electing to do this outside anyways in front of the public. There's people just sitting right there. They're giving, I guess it's about sand, so it's, I guess theoretically it's not that bad. And when the waitress jumps in for the appetizer order, I cracked up.
But there must be zero bloodshed.
Hello, can I start you guys with an appetizer?
Yes, we'll have some jalapeno poppers for the table, please.
How many jalapeno poppers do you get for that table? I think it's a huge table. That it probably is a bigger table than you need. It's for the camera, I think, to be able to move around like that. So it looks bigger than it is. There's probably, 15 guys there. So it's a big table, but it's not the biggest table you've ever seen. You have to get more than 2 orders, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a multiple. If everybody wants to at least get 1 or 2.
Yeah, I don't really do jalapeno poppers a lot, so I don't know. And I'm assuming Toro, this is just a guess. The guy Hank is texting, I'm guessing that's the dude from the trailer, maybe with the big gun, the kind of like Jason Momoa, a little bit looking dude or whatever. For some reason, I feel like that's going to be that dude. He looks like a Toro. Mm-hmm. Not a, Benicio Del, because, we don't know if his wife drinks or not. Lon O'Neill heads to his car and finds an envelope with an invitation under his windshield wiper. He goes to the location specified on the invitation, where he finds Gene affixing another envelope to a parking meter. Gene gives him yet another envelope from a stack of them, and tells him to go to the address listed on the invitation and lock the door behind him. What do you think, man? What was Gene's plan here? Was he really gonna scavenger this thing out. He was gonna end at his theater, right? How was this? And he was gonna give a performance. How was this guy not gonna know that it was him? Is this just his flair for the theatrical or what have you?
I think so, which is hilarious. But yes, I think so.
It's like a half-ass scavenger hunt because he did all this nice prep work. He must have spent a couple bucks. That's some nice card stock he's got going on there. Like
Thick card stock, dude. Yeah, I mean,
he would be feeling that, dude. It's embossed. There's some good stuff going on there. But it's not even really a scavenger hunt. It's like go to X. It's directions. You gave him map quest. Congratulations, Gene. You've just done map quest.
There wasn't any like hidden clues or anything. It was just kind of like
go to X. It's not a scavenger hunt. That's just go to X. It's driving directions.
It's directions.
You've heard of directions. They're a thing, right? Like a heroin table. And shout out to Gene's line. He's just impressed at Lancera. He's like,
holy shit, you got here fast. You want to go inside? What do you drive, a rocket ship?
That's just Henry Winkler just doing that so well. And shout out Gene saying, hey, lock the door here. I guess he doesn't lock it, right? Because we see eventually that Sally gets in somehow. So I don't think Lon was taking him seriously. And Gene brings up is there any chance the anonymous? Well, I guess it's probably a strong chance, but do you think that when Gene asks Lon if he was followed, it's Jim Moss he's worried about, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He's not worried about the cops or Barry or anything. It's strictly Jim Moss.
I think so. I mean, in these rightfully so, right? I mean,
Jim's creeper like that, dude.
Yeah, dude. You don't play around with Jim, man.
You'd think Gene would know better, but nope, he's can't help himself. Back in jail, Barry has a visitor. Surprisingly, it's Sally. She's there to make sure that she's in the clear and Barry got rid of the body of the man that she killed. Barry assures her that she's good and he apologizes to her. Sally says that she tried going home and it was awful. Barry pours his heart out to her and asks why she isn't leaving when Sally hesitates to go anywhere. Sally says that she feels safe with him. She puts down the receiver as Barry assures her that she is safe with him. She hangs up the phone and waves goodbye as Barry says that he loves her. Early prediction. Is this the final scene we ever get of the two of them together?
Ah, man. My heart says no, but my head is leaning towards yes. I'm going to split it and say maybe, but I think we get one more. I just think there's too much there. We have to get one more.
With the whole you feel safe thing, where it just feels that that'll come back around in some way, that's what will get stuck in Barry's head, right? He fixates on these things. I would like to say if they went out of this one, I think it would be a Costanza. You're going out on a high note. But again, you're right. I think just from the way that the show works, they pretty much have to see each other again. I mean, both actors are just absolutely slaying here, right?
Yes. 100%. Real powerhouse here, dude. Like this was an Emmy winning type scene. Like, I mean, that it was really good.
When you were first watching it, how long did it take you to figure out what muffin was? I'd already watched Succession. This was the second episode of Barry. It would have been a long day, so I was a little off. I admit it took me a minute to realize what she was talking. So I'm like, they didn't have a dog. So my instinct was, oh, maybe Barry's dead, or this is an alternate timeline. Everything except, oh yeah, it's just code. And when she's so specific about where the body was buried, I was like, oh, you can see the light bulb go on over my head.
Yeah, I was lost for a second. And again, for all those same reasons, this was a big Sunday. So yeah.
Yeah, I blame Sunday. You're right. Definitely blame Sunday. And also that sounds like a 90s ska band, Blame Sunday. Back at David Buster's, Cristobal and Hank pitch the new guys on the plan. They're going to corner the market on the sand in California, then the country, and then the world. They need the new men to control the shipping aspects and the construction sites. They will eventually become a legitimate business, which will allow them to form a community and make a shitload of money. The presentation goes quite well, but Hank follows it up with an audible, a pitch to break Barry out of jail to be their enforcer. This one does not go over so well with Cristobal or the men. Carrying a candle for Barry here. Or torch, I should say. I mean, at least carrying an Olympic torch for Barry. It's way bigger than a candle.
Yeah, no, dude, this is kind of he's making a stance here, right? I mean, and he's kind of on an island, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's on an island on a different planet that's a moon surrounding a different star system. I don't know. He's way the fuck out there on his own. And I mean, he's upgraded Barry here, right? Because Barry was, he was Michael Jordan. He was a Greek freak, but now he's the Splash Brothers. So Barry's as good as two men now.
You got to love Hank's desire to have top assassin. Like, it's just a thing in his world. Like, ever since we've known Hank, he's always, it's always about the top assassin. Well, his is named Barry Berkman, man. So
still waiting for Vacha's triplet to show up for the big showdown at the end. That would be great. And shout out, Hank. I feel you trying to make Prison Break 2023 a thing. It's hashtagable. And Cristobal holding up the druggy sized bag of sand to be like, this isn't what you think. They could have held up a bag, like a Ziploc, right? It didn't have to.
It didn't have to. Yeah.
That was a very specific type of bag, which is only used for buttons and drugs.
Yes.
I do not think anything else goes in that size of baggie, or at least maybe it does. I don't know. I don't know things about baggies or buttons. Barry once again imagines interacting with Fuchs as a child. They talk about playing Army for a while, and we see a wedding party dance past them. We follow the wedding party into a wedding reception where the camera zooms out a bit, and we see an older version of Barry and Sally slowly dancing with each other. Again, another kind of dream sequence here. I think you said blended reality, right? That's what this is again. Again, more probably the first time that maybe Barry really interacted with Fuchs, combined with, I guess, a dream for Barry. It doesn't seem to be their kid's wedding or anything. They're just having a dance.
Yeah. Look, it works for Barry, and I think we're going to get more of this kind of blended kind of realities, man. I think we're going to see a lot of it, and I like it. I think they'll be smart and they'll have some grace and not overuse it, but I do think we're going to see it. It's kind of been a theme throughout. We've seen it, kind of throughout the first 3 seasons. So
yeah, I mean, my exact note here was this feels pretty Sopranos-esque in maybe the test dream or some of the ways that they would have dreams be, like you said, blended reality. Sometimes there's messages, sometimes there's not. It's a little bit all over the place. And we get the little conversation between young Barry and Fuchs. They're specific, who are the good guys? Are these the good guys? Are these the bad guys? And again, that'll come up in the relationship later on, where Fuchs more or less leads Barry to believe that, or makes it feel like, you can kill these guys because they're bad guys, but not you. You're a good guy. Next up, Sally meets with Lindsay in a scene that we did see in the trailer. Lindsay explains that she can't be Sally's agent. And she tells Sally that after the Barry thing, she now has 2 serious strikes against her. And on top of that, she's known as the entitled cunt girl. She could still make a ton of money on reality TV or in podcasting. But unfortunately for her, she has integrity, and Lindsay is very, very sorry. We thought maybe Sally would get a get out of jail free card, but instead it's strike 2, right?
yeah, I mean, this is something that's going to go against her. Instead of, we kind of thought maybe she could use this to her advantage, and maybe Joplin, picks back up, but this time it's the story of her and Barry, right? And she could kind of continue to play that, but no, at least not initially. It looks like it's the exact opposite. Like, she's now toxic.
And apparently there's more money than God in podcasting. I guess we're doing it wrong.
Yeah, we missed that somehow.
I would settle for a couple of donkey, but I'll settle for a Dave & Buster's gift card.
Yes.
Someone's got an extra one, just a Top Golf, one of the two. I'll take either. They're both fun. Lindsay gets a couple great lines here. And again, it seems that she's doing this on a personal level, right? She's obviously can't help Sally out professionally, but she's totally willing to be here and offer her help, but on a personal level, which is pretty nice considering Sally, even comes out and says, like, I know I accused you of a lot of things that weren't technically true. That is a very Sally line right there. I accused you of a lot of things that weren't technically true. That's her way. That's a half-assed apology right there, if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. A little passive aggressive, maybe. I don't know. It's Sally.
Well, put it this way. Lindsay says it here, but do you think Sally really has integrity? It seems that she wants to, but we've definitely seen her go against principles or integrity, maybe, or ethics at least, to do things that are beneficial to her, or maybe she feels like she needs to do them at the time, but I don't know if she's been a paragon of integrity.
I don't think so. There's been really nothing that's kind of tracked to that, and I don't think so. I think if anything, we've seen the opposite.
And shout out the really bad E! News headline with like a.
And coming up later in our show, there's a new development in the viral entitled C-word girl. Turns out her boyfriend was an entitled K-word, a killer.
Lana arrives at Gene's Theater as Desperado plays. Gene tells Lon that despite Gene not wanting any attention or the spotlight, he wants to tell Lon the story of him and Barry, only for Lon and the readers of Vanity Fair. And he's going to tell it the only way he knows how, as a performance piece. We've touched on it, but what is Gene's ultimate motivation here? Is it really just attention? Or is it just some deeper need that he's trying to feel to be more wanted and beloved? Or I just don't quite get it.
You know, the only thing that I could think here that could maybe make it not about just Gene desperately wanting to use this to get fame is maybe somewhere deep down inside he wants to be the one to tell the story of Janice, and he wants to control the narrative, and maybe that comes back. But right now it just looks purely like a play to get his 15 minutes in the sun.
And we don't really, or at least I should say, from what we hear and see, it's really about him dealing with Barry, right? We don't really hear anything about the loss of Janice, which at once upon a time definitely would have been the story.
Yeah.
Everything up until the end of season 3, Gene, it all would have been about the loss of Janice. You know, in a case of thou doth protest too much, Gene gives a whole speech to Lon about not wanting the attention or the spotlight, but of course that's exactly what he fucking wants, right?
It seems like that's all he wants.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I have to ask, which is better? The Gene's Batman voice from the last episode or Gene's Barry voice here?
I need to be in that theater. You know, I just came back from the war. It did something terrible to me. Yeah.
I got, just because I got more of Gene's Barry voice, I got to go with the Barry voice. It was very good.
It sounds like Fonzie from the Bronx, dude. That's what his Barry voice sounds like to me, is Fonzie from the Bronx.
But he had the mannerisms and the placement right. Like he nailed some of it. He went with like a deeper. He didn't go with the higher pitch. But yeah, I thought he did a good job with it.
I'm still Fonzie from the block. No, but
don't be fooled by the A's that I got. I'm still Fonzie from the block.
Fonzie from the block actually does work. I'll stand by that. Back at jail, it's time for the meeting with Winograde. Fuchs is there, but Barry is missing in action. Winograde describes his tactics, which might not be entirely legal, but his results seem excellent. Then we find out where Barry is. He's meeting with the FBI, and he offers to turn in all of the LA gangs. All he wants in return is to get out and bring somebody with him. Before Winograde, let's just say Barry, he wants to get Fuchs out, right? That's the implication. There's nobody else, right?
Right.
It has to be Fuchs. Just trying to make sure. Are you surprised at all that Barry went to cut a deal?
You know, Barry's been acting so just something's wrong here, man. It didn't, because I think that one scene with Sally, he was so desperate, and the three people he has in his life all kind of shit on him. And then he gets that scene with Sally where I'm safe with you scene. I think at that point he was just like, whatever it takes for me to be with her. I don't know, man. It seems like he's just on a mission here for that.
Okay, I like that. I think that gives solid motivation for him wanting to get out. You know, he was ready to self-harm. You know, again, we don't know the time frame. I'm based on his injuries, I'm assuming it was 2-3 days ago at the most. So I don't think a lot of time has passed here. Winograde here. Wino. My man Wino. Is he the next step in the evolution of the criminal defense attorney? He's faking audio. He's making deep fakes. He's using all this. This seems like plausible, right?
It does. He actually seems like he knows what he's doing.
He's got his own version of the guy in the chair, but it's for evil. It looks like some runaway jury shit. We saw that 20 years ago. This is doable, I think, and it makes it a little bit scary.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Shout out Winograde. He's played by Matt Servito, who you might best know as Agent Harris, the main FBI agent from The Sopranos. And if you want to get in a little bit deeper, one of the FBI agents here is named Agent Harris. So I feel that that's probably a direct shout out there. And a shout out with the FBI guys. When Barry goes in there,
we don't want Fuchs. Is he still mad at me?
That's just hysterical that the Joe Friday guy is worried that Fuchs is still mad at him. I just think that's absolutely hysterical. And you know who Winograde reminded me of? The Bullet Taylor. Mr. A Hot Tub looks good over there himself. He was just like the same. I don't audition. Whatever. This is what I do. Fuck yeah. He just had the same attitude. I don't know why. It felt like they were Spirit Brothers or something.
Shout out Taylor.
Still a shitty place for a hot tub, but
it really is. really is.
I could deal with Ghost Taylor showing up somehow. I don't know how that would work, but because he kind of has to talk. Oh, he just leaves voicemails. Barry finds some old voicemails. That would be fun. Back at the theater, Gene finishes telling his story to Lon. Lon tells him that it was an amazing story. Long, but amazing. I've heard that before. Gene reminds him that he's an anonymous source, and he walks Lon out. As they leave, we see that Sally is there, and she witnessed Gene's performance. Backstage, Sally confronts Gene about withholding the truth about Barry from her. Gene tells her that they were both victims. Gene says that when the world is against you and your back is against the wall, there's only one thing you can do. Teach. Jamie G, when Gene got to that, there's only one thing you can do. Did you think teach was the next thing that was going to come out of his mouth?
I didn't at all, but it actually makes perfect sense because that's really, Gene's kind of been there, right? I mean, in his own way.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Kanish giving Mike D the truck. You're at the rock bottom, right? You got to start back up from somewhere or whatever, more or less. If you have no other options, and it seems Joplin's off the table. Is that why she went there? I mean, she couldn't have even known Gene was going to be there, I'm guessing. I guess he does the show there now, but they don't have the class. I'm assuming she couldn't get in, so she didn't have a key or anything, so Lon didn't lock the door behind him. Again, a little bit of convenient timing, but I guess she didn't have anywhere else to go, right?
She really didn't.
This would have been nice for her to go see Sasha or something like that. I can see the bridge being burned with Natalie, but it does make you consider too how she maybe wasn't that close to everyone in the acting class. We thought they were all pretty close, but it seems that once Sally kind of got out and the class broke up, I don't know that, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're all on a text chain. Sally's not in it.
Not at all, dude. And I also think too, like, just like Barry realized, man, there's only 2 or 3 people that he has in his life. I think Sally going back to Joplin and realizing that that's not an option for her. How many people does she have in her life now? They're kind of similar in that way, aren't they? Which makes this kind of crazy.
Yeah, they worked well together for that reason. They were both maybe a little bit kind of incomplete in their halves, lined up. Maybe they weren't a perfect fit, but they did enough. They jammed the jigsaw piece in there. I think it hurt Sally a little bit when Gene points out.
And you're telling me that you didn't see one sign?
No.
Yeah.
And Sally just gets caught for a second there, and she starts thinking, and I think she realizes, like, unfortunately, there probably were a couple signs. And shout out Gene, he actually realized how Barry suckered them in.
He was obsessed with us. He treated us like superstars. As actors, that's really hard to resist.
He nailed it.
Yeah, and also just the parallel between Gene and Fuchs, with Gene talking about how he got inside Barry's head and he programmed him and he was pushing his buttons. That almost exactly mirrors stuff we've heard Fuchs say about what he did with Barry.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that might not come up, but it could, Gene goes out of he does specifically mention, and we hear him talking about a bag with $250,000 in it. That could implicate Gene a little bit in some shit, I would believe, if he took that money. And also give Barry a reason to get his testimony tossed. What do they have?
Nothing.
Just saying, they're definitely creating multiple avenues for Barry to possibly get out here. Back in jail, Fuchs goes to Barry's cell only to find out that as the new occupant, Thomas. Thomas tells Fuchs that Barry got moved to special housing. Fuchs connects the dots and figures out that Barry's cut a deal. Hank and Cristobal are fighting about Hank's pitch to break Barry out when Hank gets a call from Fuchs. Fuchs tells Hank that Barry has cut a deal with the FBI, and that leads Hank to tell Cristobal,
"We have to kill Barry."
And again, not the first time that Hank has said this.
No, not the first time at all. And what a shift here, right? Because we have to break Barry out. Now we have to kill Barry.
And everything shifts, right? I mean, Fuchs is now going back against Barry because he thinks Barry betrayed him, but Barry went to the feds to try to get him and Fuchs out. This is definitely some poor communication right here.
Yeah.
Especially if the deal is contingent on Fuchs coming with Barry, why wouldn't they just pull Fuchs out of Gen Pop there, right? Or as soon as he gets out for his lawyer, or I don't know, Barry can't leave a fucking note with Tom. And I guess the only other thing to point out here is the exchange between Cristobal and Hank.
I love you, Hank. I want you to hear that. But I think it's shit like this why people think you are soft. Body doesn't care about you. He never has.
And I don't know that it's even like a jealousy thing. I think it's just like this is now like just weird kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think he's like worried about romantic love, but I guess it's that thing, right? Everyone you've had someone, whether it's romantic or just friendship or whatever, you give somebody way too many chances or what have you, and everyone else can be like, yeah, that person's not the greatest or whatever, because Cristobal's 100% right. Barry doesn't give a shit about Hank. As we see, he doesn't even hesitate to sell him out to the FBI. Doesn't even blink.
Yeah.
So Cristobal is technically right.
He is. But I mean, it's not like Barry's sitting there thinking about, man, what a great friend I had. He didn't call Hank, right? He called everyone else. Like,
Yeah, it's always been a one-sided relationship, I would say. And I think that's it, man. I think that's a wrap on a recap discussion. Before we kick off the award tour, let's see what the internet thinks about the episode. Over on IMDb, Bestest Place on Earth has a rating of 9.0. Again, that could change a bit as time goes on, but we're going to use that 9.0. That puts it in a tie for the 7th highest rated episode of Barry of the first 26 episodes. Jamie G, is this a top 7-ish episode to you?
it is. Look, it's definitely a top 10. So I think 7 is probably its absolute ceiling, and 10 is its floor. You split the difference and put it anywhere you want in there, but I think that feels right.
I think that's perfect. I think 7 to 10. Actually, let's call it 7-11 just to make it sound cool. I think that's the range right there. A little bit of it maybe will depend on how this plotline ultimately works out. If this is the beginning of Hank going against Barry, we might look back and see this is a way more important episode. Right now, I might be bumping it up a little bit too much just because of how much I love all the Dave and Buster stuff. But again,
yeah,
Dave and Buster's.
That's my feeling as well. And I think just after last, episode 1, we really needed some humor, and this one kind of gave it to us a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that just overall from the show. I think season 3 was my favorite, but again, it was just a touch too dark at times. I'll take dark comedy even. Dark comedy's cool too. Doesn't have to all be laugh out loud funny. I'm with some, I shouldn't have laughed at that, but I laughed at that jokes.
Yeah. Well, season 4 seems to be a step up as far as the quality of the episode titles, but it's a thing that we do, so we're not stopping now. Can't stop, won't stop. But even if Bestest Place on Earth is a pretty good name, we're still going to change it. Mills, you got anything that can top it? Bestest Place on Earth, anything better?
Dude, I'm Jason. Total unicorn situation. The Ravens gang. Who's Muffin? I mean, honestly, this is a pretty good one. Maybe the really are these song titles? That would be the Sopranos name if this was Turning Pails and Enemies. I don't. Honestly, this is
Come on, man. No love for the yoke. Is this a yoke?
That's actually pretty. That's pretty solid. I like that. But Bestest Place on Earth works so well for me because it pays it off. Cristobal says it, and then there's a payoff to it with it being Dave and Buster's. That is almost a perfect. I think this is the best named episode of Barry. I'll say that for it. It gets a little, when we do our grades, it's getting at least a 0.1 bump up strictly for having the best name of a Barry episode, I think.
Yeah.
That's none of that Berkman greater than block or life divided by fucking bullshit over whatnot. Cue the tribe, because it's time for the first stop on our award tour. First up is our favorite quote or dialogue exchange from Bestest Place on Earth. This one's a little bit long, but some people like it that way. I am going to go with Fuchs's prison speech, where he's trying to recruit everyone to the Ravens gang, unless your name's Jason. Well, I guess you can be Jason if you want.
The Raven is connected to some very heavy hitters. I can't say who, let's just say they're not Russian. But you'd think they were.
They Chechens?
Yeah, they're Chechen, but when Raven gets out of here, they're going to hook him up, and you could get a piece of the action. And what's your name, son?
Jason?
Jason, no. Raven can't have it, Jason. Need something with more flair. Live wire. What's your name?
I'm trying to watch a show.
TV fan, are you? Well, we'll call you Chief Groove 2.
I don't want a nickname.
Live wire and Groove 2. Yeah. Looks like the Raven got himself a gang.
No, for real, I don't like nicknames.
All right, then you're Jason.
Dude, I'm Jason. My name is Jason.
You're Livewire, motherfucker. You're Jason, you're Livewire, and I'm the Raven.
And Jamie G, favorite line, favorite quote, be as Jason as you want to be.
I gotta stay with Fuchs here. I gotta go with him as he's canceling the deal with the FBI guys, and he's like, look,
I will leave you with this. Shame on you. Turning pals into enemies. It's a dick move.
and you know what, Fuchs? You're right, bro. It is a dick move.
Turning pals into enemies is definitely an unreleased Tupac song.
It'll come out in 2050. All right, the next stop on the tour is our favorite moment or scene from Bestest Place on Earth, and I'm up first here. Dude, I don't know, man. I know this is a cop-out, but just all the Dave & Buster's. All right, the Dave & Buster's are just a huge win for me. All of it.
Excuse me, we've got this room for like another hour, please. Jesus. Thank you.
I mean, not all of it, because all of the sauces would take you to Buffalo Wild Wings. I am actually going to go with the scene between Lindsay and Sally. I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was both funny and personal, and it gave you a good idea of just maybe how screwed Sally is. But at least, I mean, Lindsay's probably her best friend right now. We asked before, who could she talk to? I'm pretty sure Lindsay would let her stay there at least. But I think that's what she's down to. I mean, Natalie's definitely off the table.
Yes.
Yeah, and I hope we do get more Natalie, but I'm worried we're not going to. That brings us to our Splash Brothers of Assassins, which is our MVP of the episode. I guess it's my turn to go first here. Dude, this was an interesting one because I couldn't figure out a lot of winners. You know who the real winner is probably going to be? Fucking Lon O'Neill. He got this whole rigmarole and thing and everything from Gene. I got a feeling he is going to have a hell of a story, and it's not going to work out the way Gene thought it was going to be, but it's going to work out very well for Lon O'Neill. Jamie G, Splash Brothers of Assassins this week.
Man, good call on Lon O'Neill. I really like that. I want to lean Gene again, but I just can't do it two in a row.
I didn't want to double Gene. You know, there's only we love Gene, but you know.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of winners in this one. But you know, I can't give it to the waitress at Dave & Buster's with that order for the apps. I'm gonna give it to.
Just give it to Dave & Buster's.
I'm giving it to Dave & Buster's. They're the real MVP. And we're not IMDb, and we're not Real Critics, and we're certainly no Roddy T's. Nevertheless, we still have to do our best to give a grade to the bestest place on Earth.
Because I'm the Fonz, huh? Hey.
In honor of Henry Winkler, Mean Gene Cousineau himself, we grade each episode of Barry on a scale of 1 to 10 Fonzies. Hey, I'm up first here. I've got this one at 9.2 A's.
Nicely done. I'm a little bit lower, but definitely up from the previous episode. I am going with 8.9 A's. So I think we both enjoyed that one. Before we get out of here, Jamie G, any thoughts, any predictions on what's upcoming? I will say I love Barry's next time on. They don't bother with some confusing trailer. They should just show one shot. It's Tom driving the car. Gene's in the passenger seat. That's it. We know we're getting Tom next week. Do you have any other predictions?
Very excited for Tom. I'm going to predict that Hank does not kill Barry. We'll just say that. And I think maybe while trying to kill Barry, somehow accidentally gets him to, creates an escape mechanism for him.
All right. So do you think Barry's definitely getting out of jail?
I started off the season adamant that he would. I'm 50-50 right now. The way those first two episodes went, I think you could see a world where he doesn't get out, but I'm going to still lean towards he gets out.
Right. And I can think of at least 3 paths. You have the FBI deal. You have something going wrong with the legal case and the charges being dismissed or whatever, or he gets broken out.
Yeah.
Which of the 3 do you think it is?
I'm gonna think something with the case. They just don't have a case, and he gets released that way.
It's funny. I feel that's what's Gene's going to the press and everything. It's going to somehow fuck it up. Then it gets dismissed, but then Hank will still somehow try to break into the prison anyways. And then Barry's not even there anymore. That feels about how it would go down. And I have to say, I did come up with one thing I would like to see for the end game, for the final episode. What would kind of be cool is if Hank and Cristobal finally get all that money, all that wealth, and they do it by producing Sally's reality show and podcast.
Amazing. And you know what? And it could work because apparently there's a shitload of money in podcasting. We're still figuring that out, but apparently it's out there.
We got to hire Tom. I guess that's the key. We got to hire more Tom, dude.
Yeah, we need
possibly Jerry. We're still figuring out his assistant's name. If I was Tom, I would hire someone named Jerry just out of principle.
Dude, if I was, yes.
All right. Next up is season 4, episode 3, You're Charming. Our coverage of the episode will drop on Tuesday, April 25th.
Well, I appreciate you saying that out loud, Mills. I know I'm pretty damn charming, but I don't think that you tell me that often enough. So thank you for considering us to be charming enough to tune into the Barry podcast. We really, really hope that you enjoyed our show and that we've enhanced your overall Barry experience somehow, some way, even if it wasn't intentional. Please remember, go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, just freaking do it already. All right. If you haven't did it, do it now. If you haven't done it, who did it? I don't know. Who doesn't love a good whodunit? Just do it. Mills, anything else?
I did it. Some fly shit it. I spit it. So don't forget it. Is that how it went? It's been a minute. Thank you for checking out the Barry Podcast. Again, find us wherever you get your pods. Search for Barry Podcast on social media at Barry Podcast. Search for us on YouTube, or you can go to JoeBlowFootballShow.com. Brings you right to our YouTube channel. If you could, please do the like, comment, rate, follow, subscribe thing. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. I am Magnum Mills. He is Jamie G. We are the official co-presidents of the Mitch Fan Club, and we'd like to go out of the episode by bringing it in. 1, 2, 3, Goose